Hello. Today we're going to talk about ratios and proportions in modeling quantities. First, we'd like to know what is a ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. But how is this applied? Let's take an example. Karen is 8 years old and Joe is 12 years old. We'd like to write the ratio of Joe's age to Karen's age. First, make sure which one is first. We'd like to know that Joe first, then Karen. So we write Joe's age over Karen's age. And Joe's age is 12, so we write 12 over 8. It can also be written as 12 to 8, and it's read as 12 to 8. Now, what is a proportion? An equation that states that two ratios are equal is called a proportion. An example of this, write a proportion for 12 over 8. We'll divide the numerator and the denominator of the first ratio by 4. So we divide 12 over 4 and 8 over 4. 12 divided by 4 equals 3 and 8 divided by 4 equals 2. Now we obtained another ratio which is 12 over 8 equals 3 over 2, and this is the proportion. We can also say that 12 over 8 is proportional to 4 over 3. Ratios and proportions are very useful when solving real-world problems. Here's an example of a real-world problem. A totem pole that is 90 feet tall casts a shadow that is 45 feet long. At the same time, a 6-foot tall man casts a shadow that is X feet long. So here is the totem pole. It's 90 feet long, or its height is 90 feet. Its shadow is 45 feet. Here is the man standing beside it. At the same time, he's 6 feet tall and his shadow is X feet. Of course, X is the unknown, so we need to know the X. The man and the totem pole are both perpendicular to the ground, as you see in the picture, so they form right angles with the ground. Let's go back to see it. So here is the right angle with the ground. This is the totem pole, right angle with the ground. Also, the man is right angle with the ground. The sun shines at the same angle on both, so similar triangles are formed. So as you see, if we draw here like this, can you see this triangle now? Also, this is another triangle with the man. So both triangles are right angles that are formed. Now we'd like to write a ratio of the man's height to the totem pole's height. The man's height is 60, as we know. The totem pole's height is 90, so we write 6 over 90, or 6 to 90. Now write a ratio of the man's shadow to the totem pole's shadow. We know that the man's shadow is a variable, it's unknown, it's X, and it's over 45, which is the totem pole's shadow. Now write a proportion. In writing a proportion, we'd like to write the man first, then the man first. So the man's height first, then the pole's height, equal the man's shadow over the pole's shadow. So the man's height is 6 and the pole's height, is 90. So 6 over 90 equal X over 45. So the first ratio is for the real heights of the man and the pole in order, and the second ratio is for the shadow length for the man also first, then the pole in order. To find the value of X, we solve the proportion by multiplying both sides by 45. So let's go back here. If we multiply 6 over 90, we multiply it by 45, and on the other side x over 45 multiplied by 45. Okay, the second one, 45 would be cancelled with 45 because 45 over 45 equal 1, and remains here is x on the right hand side, and on the left hand side is 6 times 45 over 90. We know that 90 can be divided by 45 equal 2, and 6 over 2 equal 3. So as you see here, this is the answer, x equal 3 feet. So 3 feet is the shadow length of the man. As a discussion, we have a question here to discuss. When writing a proportion, how do you know which numbers should be the numerators of the ratios and which should be the denominators? The answer is, the quantity or variable that is the numerator of one ratio must also be the numerator of the other, and the quantity that is the denominator of one ratio must also be the denominator of the other. As you see here, let's go back. What did we write first here? We wrote the man's height over the pole's height equal man's shadow over pole's shadow. We can also write it in another way. We can write man's height over man's shadow equal pole's. So we wrote here height first, so we write pole's height over pole's shadow. And if we answer this one, we will get the same answer for x. So again, thank you for listening to me, and I hope you understand. And to the next video. Thank you.